The 1980s were a mixed bag for the automotive world. While high-end manufacturers introduced groundbreaking innovations and sleek sports cars, the other end of the spectrum was a stark contrast. Budget buyers were left with limited choices, vehicles that often suffered from poor build quality, underwhelming performance, and an uncanny ability to break down at the most inopportune moments. Here are 10 of the most pathetic cars of the 1980s that only the poor could afford.
Dear viewer, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your support.
Number 10, 1981 Chevrolet Citation. The 1981 Chevrolet Citation, part of General Motors' notorious X-body platform, was emblematic of GM's struggles during the early 1980s. Despite its initial sales success in 1980 as a front-wheel drive compact, the Citation quickly earned a reputation for reliability issues, poor safety performance, and build quality problems. By 1981, the Citation had undergone some changes, but the issues persisted, making it a regrettable choice for budget-conscious buyers. The Citation's X-body platform was GM's attempt to modernize its lineup with front-wheel drive, but the execution was flawed. The platform was plagued by design oversights that resulted in frequent mechanical problems. One of the most infamous issues was with the braking system, which could cause the rear wheels to lock up unexpectedly. This defect led to multiple recalls and contributed to the car's poor safety reputation. The Citation's body panels were prone to severe rust, especially in regions with harsh winters. This was particularly problematic for low-budget buyers who could not afford frequent body repairs. Subpar durability. Many components, including the suspension and drivetrain, suffered from poor durability, leading to frequent repairs that negated the car's initial low purchase price. The Citation was hastily assembled to meet demand, resulting in misaligned panels, rattles, and loose trim pieces right off the factory floor. Owners frequently complained about wind noise and interior vibrations, even in new models. The interior featured cheap plastics and upholstery that wore out quickly, contributing to a sense of shoddiness. Faulty wiring and electrical gremlins were common, with issues ranging from malfunctioning dashboard lights to unreliable ignition systems. The 1981 Citation came with a range of engines, including a 2.5-liter Iron Duke, inline-4, and a 2.8-liter V6. While the V6 offered better power, both engines suffered from poor refinement and reliability issues. The Iron Duke, in particular, was noisy and prone to oil leaks. Despite being front-wheel drive, the Citation had vague steering and poor handling dynamics, particularly during emergency maneuvers. The optional automatic transmission was sluggish and prone to early failure, adding another layer of expense for owners. The aforementioned rear-wheel lockup issue posed a significant safety hazard, particularly in wet or icy conditions. This defect earned the Citation a reputation for being unsafe, even by the lower standards of the time. The Citation's lightweight construction and lack of structural integrity made it perform poorly in crash tests, further tarnishing its reputation. By 1981, the Chevrolet Citation had been subject to numerous recalls, including those addressing brake defects, fuel system issues, and structural weaknesses. These recalls frustrated owners and added to the car's maintenance costs. Word of mouth about the Citation's issues spread quickly, leading to a sharp decline in sales after its strong initial year. Buyers began to avoid the model, and its resale value plummeted. The 1981 Chevrolet Citation is often cited as one of GM's biggest failures, both in terms of engineering and public perception. While it was designed to be a forward-thinking compact car, its unreliable platform, safety flaws, and build quality issues ensured that it became a symbol of GM's decline during the early 1980s. For low-income buyers, the Citation's frequent repairs and high maintenance costs negated its affordability. Today, the Citation remains a cautionary tale about the risks of cutting corners in automotive design and manufacturing. The 1981 Chevrolet Citation might have been an affordable compact car, but its engineering flaws, safety concerns, and durability issues made it a poor choice for budget-conscious drivers. What could have been a groundbreaking model ended up as an emblem of GM's cost-cutting gone wrong, ensuring its place among the worst cars of the decade. Number 9, 1984, Yugo GV. The 1984 Yugo GV, a rebranded version of the Zastava Corral from Yugoslavia, quickly earned its reputation as one of the worst cars in automotive history. While it was introduced as the cheapest new car in the US market, the Yugo's subpar quality, unreliable mechanics, and constant breakdowns made it more of a liability than an asset for budget-conscious buyers. The Yugo GV was built with thin, low-quality metal panels that lacked structural integrity. Owners reported that the car often felt unstable and unsafe, even during normal driving conditions. Interior materials were cheap and poorly finished, with rattling trim pieces and loose fittings that often fell apart within months of purchase. Rust was a major issue, especially in regions with wet or snowy climates. The car's bare-bones rust-proofing meant that significant corrosion could occur within a few years. The Yugo GV was powered by a 1.1-liter inline-4 engine, producing a meager 55 horsepower. Frequent timing belt failures often led to catastrophic engine damage. The carburetor was prone to clogging, causing hard starts and stalling. The manual transmission, though simple, was poorly assembled and prone to gear slippage and linkage failures. Most mechanical components, from the brakes to the suspension, wore out quickly and required constant maintenance. Even routine repairs were complicated by the car's low-quality parts and limited availability of replacements. With its small engine and light weight, the Yugo struggled to maintain highway speeds. Accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour took nearly 14 seconds, and climbing hills often required the car to be revved hard, further straining its fragile engine. The Yugo's narrow tires and poorly designed suspension made it difficult to control in corners or during emergency maneuvers, leading to a feeling of instability at any speed. The engine was loud and unrefined, and the lack of sound insulation made every trip feel like a chore. Drivers frequently complained about engine vibrations and excessive road noise. The Yugo GV lacked basic safety features such as reinforced doors, airbags, or crumple zones, which were becoming standard in the mid-1980s. In crash tests, the car performed poorly, offering little protection to passengers. At its launch, the Yugo was marketed as a new car that could be purchased for under $4,000. However, the constant repairs, poor reliability, and depreciation meant it quickly became more expensive than buying a reliable used car. The Yugo became a cultural punchline, often mocked for its cheapness and unreliability. Owners were embarrassed to drive one, and resale values plummeted to almost nothing. The 1984 Yugo GV is often remembered as the quintessential example of a you-get-what-you-pay-for car. While its low cost initially attracted buyers on tight budgets, its terrible build quality, constant breakdowns, and lack of basic refinement made it a nightmare to own. The Yugo's failure also highlighted the dangers of prioritizing cost over quality in the highly competitive automotive market. The 1984 Yugo GV may have been cheap, but its poor engineering, endless mechanical problems, and subpar driving experience made it one of the most regrettable purchases of the decade. It remains a symbol of what happens when affordability is pursued at the expense of reliability and safety. Number 8, 1985 Dodge Omni. The 1985 Dodge Omni was part of Chrysler's attempt to compete in the compact car market during the fuel-conscious 1980s. Based on European designs from Chrysler's partnership with Simca, the Omni initially gained traction as one of America's first front-wheel drive hatchbacks. However, by 1985, the Omni was showing its age, with outdated styling, subpar build quality, and uninspiring performance that failed to excite buyers. The Omni was practical but poorly assembled, with cheap materials throughout the interior and exterior. Owners reported rattling panels, loose trim, and frequent cosmetic wear after only a few years of use. Rust was a common issue, particularly in regions with snow and salted roads. The Omni's thin body panels offered little resistance to corrosion. Many components, including door hinges, latches, and window mechanisms, wore out quickly, adding to the frustration of ownership. The 1985 Dodge Omni came equipped with either a 1.6-liter four-cylinder from Volkswagen or Chrysler's 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine. The 1.6-liter engine delivered weak acceleration and struggled to keep pace in modern traffic. The 2.2-liter engine, while slightly more powerful, suffered from rough idling and reliability issues, including oil leaks and overheating problems. The Omni's performance was uninspiring, with sluggish acceleration and poor handling. The car leaned excessively in corners, and its basic suspension system delivered a harsh and noisy ride on rough roads. At highway speeds, the Omni felt unstable and loud, making longer trips uncomfortable. The interior of the Omni was as bare bones as it got, with uncomfortable seating, cheap upholstery, and basic gauges. Higher trims offered marginally better features, but even they fell short of competitors. Many owners complained about misaligned dashboard components and buttons that frequently broke or malfunctioned. By 1985, the Omni's design was stale, and it lacked the visual appeal of newer competitors like the Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla. Its boxy shape, once practical, now looked dated and uninspired. The Omni suffered from a laundry list of mechanical problems, including the automatic transmission was particularly prone to slipping and premature wear. Problems with wiring, lights, and starter motors were common. Many owners experienced premature brake wear and poor stopping performance. While marketed as an economy car, the Omni's low-quality components often led to frequent repairs, negating its affordability over time. The Omni had few safety features beyond seatbelts and basic structural reinforcements. In crash tests, the Omni performed poorly, offering limited protection to passengers. Despite its flaws, the Omni sold reasonably well early on due to its low price and practicality, but by 1985, it was being outclassed by Japanese imports in nearly every category. The Omni became known as a car that prioritized cost-cutting over quality, and by the mid-1980s, it was often viewed as a last resort purchase for those who couldn't afford better options. The 1985 Dodge Omni may have been affordable, but its cheap build, weak engines, and outdated design left it far behind its competitors. While it served as a stepping stone for Chrysler in the compact car segment, it ultimately failed to deliver the reliability, performance, or refinement that buyers needed in a long-term vehicle. Number 7. 1982 Plymouth Reliant. The 1982 Plymouth Reliant was one of Chrysler's widely marketed K cars, designed to save the company from financial ruin. Promoted as affordable, practical, and fuel-efficient, the Reliant initially attracted budget-conscious buyers during a time of economic hardship. However, the base trim, the most economical version, highlighted the Reliant's many flaws. With weak engines, lackluster interiors, and persistent reliability issues, the base Reliant quickly earned a reputation for being mediocre at best. The base 1982 Reliant was equipped with Chrysler's 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine, producing 84 horsepower. While this engine aimed to deliver fuel economy, its lack of power made the car feel sluggish, both in city driving and on highways. Optional was a 1.7-liter Volkswagen-sourced engine, also a four-cylinder, with even less power, which only exacerbated performance problems. Acceleration was poor, with a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of over 15 seconds. This made merging onto highways a nerve-wracking experience. The engines were noisy, vibrating excessively at higher speeds, and prone to rough idling. Both engine options faced common issues like oil leaks, overheating, and premature gasket failures. The automatic transmissions were prone to early failures, with slipping and grinding reported by many owners. The manual transmissions weren't much better, often suffering from poor gear alignment. Problems with starter motors, alternators, and dashboard lights plagued the car, leading to frequent, frustrating repairs. Many components felt cheaply made and didn't last long under normal use. Owners often dealt with loose trim, faulty door locks, and leaking seals, leading to water intrusion during rainstorms. The base Reliant lacked almost all comforts, featuring hard plastic surfaces, uncomfortable vinyl seats, and manual windows and locks. The dashboard was minimalistic to the point of feeling unfinished, with poorly lit gauges and controls that felt flimsy and prone to breaking. The Reliant suspension system was basic and ill-equipped to handle rough roads, leading to bumpy rides that felt harsh even by economy car standards. The steering was vague and unresponsive, making the car uninspiring and difficult to handle on curvy or wet roads. Safety features on the base trim were limited to lap belts and basic structural reinforcements. There were no airbags or modern crumple zones. Crash test results revealed that the Reliant offered poor protection in serious collisions, raising concerns about its suitability for families. Rust was a major issue, particularly in areas with snowy winters. The Reliant's cheap steel and inadequate rust-proofing caused many cars to deteriorate within a few years. Despite its flaws, the Reliant sold well initially, as it offered fuel efficiency and an accessible price tag during an era of high gas prices and inflation. However, many buyers quickly regretted their purchase due to the car's poor reliability and lack of refinement. While the Reliant and its Dodge Aries sibling were credited with saving Chrysler, the base trim showed the K car's weaknesses, tarnishing its long-term reputation. The 1982 Plymouth Reliant base trim was a car designed to meet a budget, but its weak engines, unreliable build, and lack of comfort left much to be desired. While it served its purpose as an economical option during tough times, the base Reliant fell short in quality and performance, earning its place as one of the less desirable budget cars of its era. Number 6, 1987 Chevrolet Chevette. By 1987, the Chevrolet Chevette was an anachronism. Originally launched in 1976, the subcompact Chevette was designed during the oil crisis as a budget-friendly and fuel-efficient car. However, after more than a decade with few meaningful updates, the Chevette was thoroughly outdated. With uninspired performance, cheap materials, and a driving experience that bordered on punishing, the 1987 Chevette felt like a relic in the era of modernized imports and evolving domestic competitors. The 1.6-liter inline-4 engine, producing a paltry 65 horsepower, was underwhelming even for an economy car. Acceleration was sluggish, with a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of around 18 seconds, making highway merging an exercise in patience and anxiety. The Chevette had a 3-speed automatic or 4-speed manual transmission, both of which were clunky and outdated compared to competitors' offerings. With an unrefined suspension and imprecise steering, the car was difficult to handle on anything other than smooth, straight roads. The cabin was a masterclass in cost-cutting, with hard plastic surfaces, cheap vinyl seats, and controls that felt flimsy. Soundproofing was minimal, leading to excessive engine noise, road noise, and vibrations that made long drives unbearable. By 1987 standards, the Chevette lacked even basic amenities, such as power windows, air conditioning, or a decent stereo. The dashboard design was archaic, with bare-bones gauges and a utilitarian layout that highlighted the car's budget nature. The boxy, utilitarian styling of the Chevette looked out of place in the late 1980s, when more aerodynamic and modern designs were the norm. Build quality was poor, with misaligned panels and thin, low-quality paint prone to fading and chipping. Rust was a chronic problem for the Chevette, particularly in the wheel wells and undercarriage, reducing its lifespan significantly in colder climates. The Chevette's suspension struggled to absorb bumps, leading to a harsh and jarring ride on uneven roads. Braking performance was poor, with weak drum brakes in the rear and a lack of responsiveness that felt unsafe. While small, the Chevette's cramped interior and awkwardly shaped cargo space in the hatchback model limited its usefulness as a practical subcompact. By 1987, the Chevette was completely outclassed by competitors like the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla, which offered better reliability, comfort, and performance. Even domestic rivals like the Ford Escort and Plymouth Horizon had moved beyond the Chevette's outdated design. The Chevette's long production run ended after the 1987 model year, marking the end of an era for Chevrolet's budget subcompact. Its farewell was long overdue, as its outdated design and mediocre performance made it irrelevant in a rapidly advancing automotive market. The 1987 Chevrolet Chevette represented a car whose time had passed. While it once served as a practical, no-frills option, its underpowered engine, bare-bones interior, and outdated design made it a relic by the late 1980s. In an era of evolving consumer expectations and improved alternatives, the Chevette's failures in performance, comfort, and quality ensured its place as one of the most forgettable economy cars of its time. Number 5. 1980 AMC Spirit. The 1980 AMC Spirit was AMC's attempt at creating an affordable compact car for budget-conscious buyers. Based on the outdated Gremlin platform, the Spirit was available in coupe and hatchback configurations. While it offered low-cost transportation, the base model Spirit was plagued with poor quality control, bland design, and an uninspiring engine lineup. By the standards of 1980, it felt like a leftover from an earlier era, unable to compete with more modern and refined offerings from competitors. The base Spirit came equipped with a 2.5-liter inline-4 engine, producing only 82 horsepower, which was barely enough to keep up with traffic. Acceleration was sluggish, with a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of over 16 seconds, making it a chore to drive in urban or highway settings. The 3-speed manual transmission felt clunky, and the optional automatic transmission was slow to respond, further diminishing performance. The Spirit suffered from poor suspension tuning, resulting in a bumpy and uncomfortable ride on uneven roads. By 1980, the Spirit's boxy design looked old-fashioned compared to sleeker compact cars like the Honda Civic and Volkswagen Rabbit. AMC attempted to modernize the Gremlin-based design with minor updates, but it still lacked the aerodynamic styling that was becoming standard in the industry. The Spirit's exterior was prone to premature rust, particularly in the wheel wells and undercarriage. Interior materials were low quality, with plastics that cracked and seats that wore out quickly, leading to a shabby appearance within a few years. The base Spirit came with few amenities, such as manual windows, no air conditioning, and a basic AM radio as standard. Comfort was not a priority, with poorly padded seats and little soundproofing, making for a noisy and uncomfortable ride. The dashboard and controls were simplistic and dated, reflecting the Spirit's budget nature. Build quality was inconsistent, with rattles and loose components being common complaints from owners. AMC was notorious for quality control problems, and the Spirit was no exception. Issues with engine reliability, electrical systems, and poor assembly resulted in frequent trips to the mechanic. Many owners found that their Spirits developed serious mechanical problems or body rust within just a few years, making it a poor long-term investment. Compact cars like the Toyota Corolla, Datsun 210, and Ford Escort offered superior reliability, better fuel efficiency, and more modern designs. Even domestic rivals like the Chevrolet Chevette and Plymouth Horizon managed to outshine the Spirit in areas like refinement and handling. The AMC Spirit was one of the final gasps of AMC's compact car lineup, as the company struggled to remain competitive in a rapidly changing market. Its failure to innovate or address persistent quality issues helped solidify AMC's reputation as a brand that couldn't keep pace with industry leaders. The 1980 AMC Spirit base model was affordable but far from desirable. Its uninspiring design, subpar build quality, and underwhelming engine performance left it feeling outdated in an era where compact cars were rapidly improving. For buyers seeking reliable, economical transportation, the Spirit was a disappointing option, overshadowed by competitors offering better value and dependability. Number 4. 1986 Hyundai Excel. The 1986 Hyundai Excel was Hyundai's debut car in the U.S. market, introduced with the aim of offering a cheap alternative to American and Japanese compact cars. At first, it attracted attention due to its low price, appealing to buyers on tight budgets. However, despite its affordability, the Excel quickly earned a reputation for being unreliable and plagued with a series of mechanical issues that overshadowed its initial appeal. The Excel was equipped with a 1.5-liter inline-4 engine that produced just 69 horsepower, which was underwhelming for a car that was supposed to compete with more established compact models like the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla. The engine was prone to oil leaks, excessive consumption, and poor performance. Even at low speeds, it felt sluggish, and higher speed acceleration was a struggle. The 4-speed manual and 3-speed automatic transmissions were notorious for slipping, shifting roughly, and failing prematurely. Transmission problems often resulted in costly repairs, making the Excel an unreliable choice for buyers seeking a long-term solution. The Excel's reputation for reliability was quickly tarnished due to persistent issues such as suspension problems, brake failures, and electrical malfunctions. The build quality was poor, with loose panels, fading paint, and interior materials that wore out rapidly. Many owners reported that their cars quickly felt like they were falling apart after just a few years of use. The Excel's low purchase price was tempting, but its high maintenance costs due to frequent repairs quickly made it an expensive car to own over time. The poor build quality, combined with Hyundai's lack of a well-established service network in the US, made it difficult for owners to keep their cars running smoothly. The Excel's driving experience was often described as uninspiring, with slow acceleration, poor cornering, and a noisy engine. The suspension was stiff and uncomfortable, and the steering felt unresponsive, making it a tedious car to drive even for short trips. The base trim of the Excel was bare bones, offering little in terms of comfort or modern features. Air conditioning, power windows, and other basic amenities were often optional or unavailable, making the Excel feel cheap and outdated even when it was new. Even at its low price point, the Excel struggled to compete with more established compact cars like the Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and Ford Escort, which offered better build quality, reliability, and overall performance. Hyundai's lack of experience in the US market was evident, as it failed to match the standards of its competitors in terms of both performance and customer satisfaction. The 1986 Hyundai Excel was initially popular due to its price, but quickly gained a reputation for being a disposable car, cheap to buy, but even cheaper in quality. Despite its poor reputation, Hyundai would go on to improve its vehicles and eventually establish itself as a major player in the global market. However, the Excel's legacy remains one of unreliable transportation for buyers, desperate for a low-cost option, but not ready for the headaches that came with it. The 1986 Hyundai Excel may have been cheap, but it was a prime example of the dangers of cutting corners in design and manufacturing. Plagued by engine and transmission failures, poor build quality, and a general lack of reliability, the Excel quickly became known as a short-term solution for those in need of an inexpensive vehicle. While Hyundai eventually turned things around, the Excel's debut in the US left a lasting impression of a brand that was still finding its footing and struggling to compete in the crowded compact car market. Number 3. 1981. Renault Le Car. The 1981 Renault Le Car was part of the French automaker's push into the American market, positioning itself as an affordable, compact car for buyers looking for budget-friendly transportation. With its small size and cheap price tag, the Le Car was seen as a solution for those looking to save money on a new vehicle. However, it quickly became apparent that the car's low cost came at the expense of quality, performance, and reliability, making ownership a difficult and often frustrating experience for many. One of the Le Car's most persistent issues was its prone-to-rust body, especially in areas with high humidity or exposure to road salt. The underside of the car, wheel wells, and door sills were particularly vulnerable to rust, and many owners reported having to deal with rust repairs just a few years after purchase. This corrosion not only affected the car's appearance, but also compromised its structural integrity, which could lead to safety concerns over time. The Renault Le Car was a very small car, and while that was part of its charm for those looking to save space, it also meant that the interior was cramped. The driver and passengers had limited legroom and headroom, making longer trips uncomfortable, especially for taller individuals. The small trunk further limited its practicality for families or anyone needing extra storage space. The Le Car's reputation for reliability was poor. Owners often experienced mechanical failures that included electrical problems, engine issues, and transmission troubles. The engine itself, though small and fuel-efficient, was underpowered, making the Le Car sluggish on highways and prone to overheating during extended use. The manual transmission was also prone to shifting issues, and the engine's small size didn't provide the performance needed to keep up with other vehicles in its class. Many owners found themselves in the repair shop frequently, with issues ranging from poorly sealed doors to more serious engine problems that added to the car's long-term costs. Parts for the Le Car were harder to come by in the US, and many repairs required specialized knowledge of French automotive systems, adding to the hassle of ownership. The Le Car's driving experience was lackluster. The tiny engine made the car feel sluggish, especially on highways or when carrying multiple passengers. Suspension issues and a lack of refinement in handling made for a rough and uncomfortable ride. While the car's size made it maneuverable in tight urban settings, it didn't offer much in the way of driving pleasure or stability at higher speeds. Though the Le Car was marketed as an affordable, budget-friendly option, it faced stiff competition from other compact and subcompact cars that offered better reliability, superior build quality, and more modern features. Cars like the Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and Chevrolet Chevette had more established reputations for dependability and overall quality, and many buyers quickly turned to these more reliable options rather than the Le Car. The 1981 Renault Le Car is often remembered as a short-lived experiment that failed to find its footing in the U.S. market. Despite being inexpensive, the car's rust problems, small interior, and mechanical shortcomings made it less than desirable for most buyers. By the mid-1980s, Renault withdrew from the U.S. market, and the Le Car's reputation was sealed as a poorly executed import that couldn't live up to the expectations set by its rivals. In retrospect, the Le Car is often seen as a cautionary tale of cost-cutting and lack of quality control in the competitive automotive market. The 1981 Renault Le Car was affordable, but its rust issues, cramped interior, and frequent mechanical failures made it a poor choice for many buyers. Despite its low price, the car's maintenance costs and poor driving experience overshadowed any potential savings, leaving it with a legacy of being one of the less successful attempts at importing European cars into the U.S. market. Number 2. 1987 Chrysler TC by Maserati. The 1987 Chrysler TC by Maserati was a high-profile collaboration between Chrysler and the renowned Italian automaker Maserati. Marketed as a luxury sports coupe, it combined Chrysler's mass-market appeal with Maserati's reputation for elegance and performance. However, the resulting product was an overpriced, underwhelming car that failed to meet the high expectations set by its branding. Despite its luxury ambitions, the TC was plagued by mechanical issues and left many owners disappointed. Over time, this once expensive car became an affordable option for budget-conscious buyers, but only because of its significant flaws. At the time of its release, the Chrysler TC by Maserati was positioned as a luxury car with an Italian pedigree. However, the reality didn't live up to the hype. With a base price of around $22,000, it was significantly more expensive than many other vehicles in its class, especially given its lack of true luxury features and underwhelming performance. While it sported Maserati badges and Italian styling, the TC lacked the refinement and high-end features expected from a luxury vehicle, leaving buyers feeling that they were paying for the name rather than a premium experience. The TC suffered from a variety of mechanical issues throughout its lifespan, particularly with its engine, transmission, and electrical systems. Engine problems were common, including issues with the fuel injection system, which led to frequent repairs. The transmission was another weak point, with some owners reporting shifting difficulties and transmission failures that required costly fixes. Electrical gremlins plagued the car, with malfunctioning lights, faulty window motors, and interior electronics frequently acting up. These mechanical issues quickly added to the overall cost of ownership, making the TC a much more expensive car to maintain than its initial purchase price suggested. While the TC by Maserati was marketed as a luxury sports car, its performance was anything but thrilling. The car was powered by a 2.2-liter four-cylinder engine. Later versions offered a V6 that lacked the power and punch expected from a vehicle bearing the Maserati name, despite its sports car aspirations. The TC's handling and ride quality were relatively uninspiring, and it didn't offer the exhilarating driving experience that many buyers anticipated. The car's acceleration was sluggish, and it felt heavier and less agile than its Italian counterparts, lacking the sporty feel that made Maserati a desirable brand. One of the biggest issues with the Chrysler TC by Maserati was its identity crisis. It wasn't quite a true luxury car, nor was it a performance vehicle. It attempted to straddle both worlds, but ended up lacking the qualities that would have made it exceptional in either category. The cheap materials inside the car, including plastic interior trim and poor quality upholstery, betrayed the luxury aspirations, making it feel more like a regular Chrysler than a premium product. The styling, while sleek and attractive in some ways, was considered somewhat dated and not as elegant as other luxury cars of the era. The TC struggled to sell during its production run, with only around 7,000 units sold between 1989 and 1991. Despite the high price tag and heavy marketing, the car was quickly overshadowed by more successful competitors in the luxury and performance markets, such as the BMW 3 Series and the Audi 4000. Its reputation for mechanical issues and lack of true luxury features made it a tough sell even to those who could afford it. The car quickly became a used car after its initial release, with many buyers picking it up for cheap due to its declining value and unreliable nature. Despite its initial failure, the Chrysler TC by Maserati found a second life on the used car market. As the car aged, it became more affordable, which allowed budget-conscious buyers to snap up a luxury badge for less. However, even at a lower price, the TC's mechanical issues and reliability problems made it a questionable bargain for many owners. Though cheap to buy, its costly repairs and poor durability meant that owning a TC was anything but economical in the long run. The 1987 Chrysler TC by Maserati remains a cautionary tale of how branding and collaboration can fail if the product doesn't live up to expectations. The car's confused identity, combined with mechanical failures and a lack of performance, ultimately undermined its place in the market. While it did have some appeal to buyers looking for an affordable luxury car, it failed to deliver on the promise of Maserati performance and Chrysler reliability, leaving it as little more than an overpriced curiosity in automotive history. Despite its promise as a luxury vehicle, the 1987 Chrysler TC by Maserati ended up being more of a bad investment than a successful collaboration. Number 1. 1983 Subaru Brat. The 1983 Subaru Brat was a unique and quirky vehicle, blending the practicality of a compact pickup with the fun and adventurous spirit of a utility vehicle. Famous for its rear-facing jump seats in the bed and rugged appearance, the Brat appealed to a certain niche of buyers looking for something different. However, despite its charm, the Brat struggled with significant reliability issues, especially with rust in its drivetrain, making it a tough option for those seeking a dependable, low-cost vehicle. The 1983 Subaru Brat was infamous for its rust issues, especially in areas with harsh winters or high humidity. The vehicle's frame, wheel wells, and bed area were prone to rust, and even more concerning, underbody corrosion was common. The combination of subpar rust proofing and the Brat's use of lighter, cheaper materials made it susceptible to deterioration, leading to costly repairs for many owners. This issue was exacerbated in regions where salt was used on roads during the winter, which accelerated the rusting process. The Brat's drivetrain also became a source of frustration for many owners, with frequent issues in its engine and transmission. The 1.8-liter flat-4 engine offered reasonable power, but was known to suffer from oil consumption problems over time. Many drivers reported issues with loss of power and inconsistent acceleration, especially in the later years of the Brat's life cycle. The manual transmission also had a reputation for shifting difficulties and clutch issues, which led to higher-than-expected maintenance costs for owners. Overall, the Brat's drivetrain was prone to wear and failure, leading to a reputation for unreliable performance, especially for those who used it for work. While the Brat's unique design, especially its rear-facing jump seats in the truck bed, was an eye-catching feature, it didn't always serve practicality. The jump seats were more of a novelty than a useful feature, offering limited space and comfort for passengers, especially during long trips. In terms of cargo capacity, the small truck bed wasn't always sufficient for more substantial loads, making the Brat more of a fun weekend vehicle than a reliable workhorse. While the Brat's compact size made it easier to maneuver in tight spaces, it didn't offer the towing or payload capabilities that many buyers might expect from a pickup. The Brat's suspension system and ride quality were not designed for heavy-duty use, leading to a rough ride when carrying loads in the bed or driving on uneven terrain. The vehicle's lightweight design also made it less stable in high winds and poor weather conditions. Its front-wheel drive configuration, while decent for handling in everyday conditions, wasn't as effective in heavy-duty off-roading, making it less versatile than other trucks in the market. For those looking for a practical truck to haul cargo regularly or drive long distances comfortably, the Brat wasn't the best choice. While the Brat was marketed as a fun and affordable alternative to traditional pickups, it failed to appeal to a broad audience. Many buyers found the quirky features and small truck bed to be a limitation rather than an advantage, leading to lower-than-expected sales for Subaru. Although the Brat had a cult following, particularly among enthusiasts and those looking for a cheap, offbeat vehicle, its limited functionality and reliability issues meant it didn't attract mainstream buyers. It remained a niche vehicle, popular for its distinctive character, but not widely adopted as a practical or dependable choice for everyday use. The 1983 Subaru Brat is remembered fondly by those who loved its quirky charm and affordability. However, for those who needed a dependable, practical vehicle, the Brat often fell short due to its rust problems, drivetrain issues, and limited functionality. Its design and drivability may have been fun, but its long-term reliability was questionable, and repairs could become a significant burden for those who weren't prepared for its quirks. While the Brat has its place in the hearts of car collectors and enthusiasts, for many, it remains an example of a car that promised more than it could deliver in terms of practicality and dependability. In conclusion, the 1983 Subaru Brat was a fun and quirky vehicle, but its rust issues and drivetrain failures made it a tough choice for anyone seeking a reliable, practical car. Its limited market appeal and mechanical flaws ensured that, while it had its moments of charm, it often ended up as an unreliable vehicle that was difficult to maintain.